Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, Open University.
Welcome to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University at Chaitanya Studio. Today we are going to study the web application tools. So, in this session, we are basically focused on scanning for web vulnerability tools and HTTP utilities. So, I, Professor Amit Suthar from Department of Computer Science, Ganpati University, going to start the session for the web vulnerabilities tools and HTTP utilities. For the today's session, the agendas are like learning objectives, introduction regarding this particular session, scanning for web vulnerabilities tools, as well as HTTP utilities. And after the completion of this session, sum up or summary of the session. So, these are the learning objectives. After studying this session of the unit learner should be able to identify different kinds of web vulnerabilities. So, students can or learner can find out the various web vulnerabilities. Few of them, the tools like Nikto, W3AF, we are going to discuss in this session. As well as there is a HTTP utilities like we can use the HTTP utilities like curl, OpenSSL and external. So, we will discuss the introduction part of this session. Especially this block is focused to tools that aid in the analysis and defense of the software that runs on system and drives web application. Web applications are widely used as well as website we can say. Okay. So, in this session, we will study the analysis of how we can protect our web application as well as website also. It explains how to use command line and proxy tools to find vulnerabilities in web applications. There are so many web application and websites are in the market, in the internet available. Okay, but some of are protected, some of are secure and not vulnerable web application, but many of the websites are vulnerable. So, how can we find the vulnerabilities in this web application? Through the Nikto as well as several tools. So, how we can scan? There are several tools. So, firstly I would like to introduce over here is Nikto. Basically, it's a tool for scanning the web vulnerabilities. So, Nikto is a tool to find the insecure and various files, settings, programs on the web server. Hackers or pen tester will also use it to scan for vulnerabilities and discover the weakest link. Consider here weakest link. That means through that link, the pen tester or hacker or malicious programmer can payload his or her malicious code onto the server, and through that weakest link they are using to penetrate the system. So it allows him to spend a minimal amount of time and effort actually attacking the target. So it is widely used in the cybersecurity domain for pen tester as well as hackers also. Nikto examines the web server to identify potential problems, including poor server configuration settings, we can say misconfiguration or poor server configuration settings, and through that attacker or pen tester can take the advantage of it, as well as default files. So some of the default files, whenever developer uses to build the web application or website, at that time they forgot to remove the default credential or default files. So through that vulnerability can be occurred in to the web application or website. Unsafe files are there. So might be possible there are some not permitted files or poor permission or poor permission configuration or allow to all permission kind of files. So attacker can also take the advantage of penetrate the system. So Nikto will provide or it will examine the web server, and through that it will find out the several potential problems. So how to run the Nikto? Basically the Kali operating system which is widely used for the hacker or learner, security learner or security researcher, we can say. They are widely used the Kali operating system. Other than this, there are so many operating system like Parrot is there. Okay, so but in Kali Linux, the default or we can say pre-installed softwares are there. So user or pen tester can easily use that categorized tools also. In Kali operating system there are category-wise tools like forensic, like vulnerabilities. Okay, so there are several tools are pre-installed. Among them, Nikto is also pre-installed in Kali Linux. So to run the Nikto, use -h option with targeted host, and remain works will done through the Nikto. It will scan entire host or targeted host and find out the several vulnerabilities. So here we have to use the -h option with targeted host name or IP address in the terminal to start the vulnerability scanning. In screen, you can check the example which describes the usage of Nikto tool. So whenever you are open the terminal, inside terminal, it is probably at the root prompt, and inside terminal we have to enter Nikto -h, then your host name or targeted host name, or we have to provide the IP address instead of it, and remaining works will be done through the Nikto. Another tool I would like to introduce over here, that is the also used for the scanning for web vulnerabilities, that is W3AF. Actually it is a framework. W3AF is the acronym of Web Application Attack and Audit framework. This framework is used to find the web application vulnerabilities like SQL injection, XSS, and many more. Like SQL injection. So in SQL injection, the attacker or pen tester or security researcher will uses some error prone code inside the databases. Majorly the website data or web applications data will be stored into the database, and through the improper configuration of the SQL statement, the security researcher or attacker will get the benefit through the SQL injection. XSS attack, cross-site scripting attack. Through that, attacker will payload the malicious code and perform the task. So this W3AF framework is find out in the web application the several vulnerabilities like SQL injection and many more. It also provides information about web app vulnerabilities and support to pen testing. So in W3AF there are main three plugin types, which are as follows: crawl, audit, attack. Let's discuss crawl. So basically the crawler is used for the find out the several web structure, or we can say website URL. So the crawl will find only URLs in which the injection points occurs. So in W3AF there is a crawl option, crawl plugin actually, which basically used to find the vulnerable, or we can say injection points. If occur, then it will automatically alert us or find it. So input for this plugin is the URL, and it will provide one or more injection point. So through that, attacker or security researcher can perform the task and find out the vulnerabilities or perform the injection also. Then after there is audit plugin. It takes the input as injection point found by crawl and identifies the web app vulnerabilities like SQL injection. So whatever URL has been found by crawler or crawl plugin, The Audit plugin will scan the web app vulnerabilities like SQL injection and many more. Then after there will be an attack. So attack is to exploit the vulnerabilities whatever found by Audit plugin. So it is in sequence like crawl, audit, then attack. So they generally return a dump of table on remote server if it is SQL injection vulnerabilities. So basically SQL injection vulnerability will help to the attacker or pen tester for finding the data dump or data base through the SQL injection. There are other plugins available in W3AF like infrastructure, Grep, output, Mangle, Bruteforce and Evasion. So these are the various plugins also available in W3AF. So how to run this W3AF framework? W3AF have CUI as well as GUI environment, character user interface, that means command line, as well as GUI environment is also available. For the command line execute, we assume that we are in Kali Linux. So in terminal, it pre-installed already in Kali Linux. For command line, we have to enter the ./w3f_console at terminal. So it will let us inside into the W3AF framework or terminal. So this is a snapshot for W3AF where several commands inside through the help command we can get the list of commands which is available at W3AF. So start will start the scan, plugins as we have discussed earlier, audit, crawl, attack, these are the plugins. So we can enable the plugin also, exploit the vulnerabilities, profiles are there, cleanup for before starting a new scan. So it will clean up the enter files and dumps also. Help will display the help regarding the command of W3AF. So we have to enter the help, then after whatever command you would like to get the help from it. Version keys are there, HTTP settings. So it will configure the HTTP settings of the framework also. Miscellaneous settings are there, MISC. Then after target, so the target URL we have to configure. Back, go to the previous menu. Exit command is used for the exit from the W3AF. And knowledge base, KB, browse the vulnerabilities stored in the knowledge base. So we can get the knowledge of the whatever found the vulnerabilities inside KB. So these are the various web vulnerability tools available in web application tools. Now we will moving forward, that is the HTTP utilities. So the following tools are used to perform the connections over HTTP or HTTPS. As we know that in website there are communication over the internet through these two protocols majorly. HTTP, that is hypertext transfer protocol, and HTTPS, S that means secure. So basically they are not supposed to find any vulnerabilities, but its functionality can be extend the support towards the vulnerability scanner. So in HTTP utilities there are curl. So curl is an easy to use command line tool to send and receive files, and it also supports almost all major protocols like dig, file, FTP, FTPs, HTTP, HTTPS, LDAP, POP3, SMTP, and many more. So these all are protocols which is basically used for the communication over the internet. Either some of the use for the file transfer, some of the use for the transfer the hypermedia, or we can say whatever output of the website or web application will be rendering into the HTML only. So this will be generally used in HTTP or HTTPS protocol. So the curl is basically used for the sending and receiving the files. Features of curl can be used inside your shell script with ease. So in shell script we can directly use the curl command. Supports feature like pause and resume of download. So it is a one kind of facility where the download can be pause or resume it if the connection has been breakout. So at that time our file communication or whatever we have transferred over the internet can be resumed after the connection has been established. So it is a very useful features of curl utility. It has around 120 command line option for various tasks. It run on all major operating system, or we can say it's a cross-platform supports. So it also supports cookies, forms, and SSL. Cookies are basically a concept for storing the value, temporary value inside the client's machine, and through that the later on if same website or web application is used, then it will be make some faster execution as compared to previous one. Also there are several use of cookies for transfer the data from one page to another page, and also we can say session management. So it also supports in curl. Both curl command line tool and libcurl library are open source. So they can be used in any of your programs. So later on the programmer can also configure this curl command into his or her program or software also, and make the customize also. It supports configuration files. Also, it supports multiple upload with a single command. So multiple files can be uploaded through the single command also. Progress bar, rate limiting, and download time details are also available in curl utility. IPv6 support. We know that IPv version 4 is also available, widely used, but the newer version, that is IPv6, is also support into the curl. OpenSSL is the another utility which is basically used for the security protocol. OpenSSL library are used by a lot of business project in their system and products. So OpenSSL libraries and set of computer instructions can be used with OpenSSL command. It's a free security protocol, so through that HTTPS can be configured. It is the most common library for establishing the encrypted connection. The S represent in HTTPS connection that uses secure socket layer for the transport data. Encrypted connection in web are often use the HTTPS connection, but it provides limited security. The SSL and transport layer security protocol offer security from reading a plaintext data point between sender and receiver. So here you can see the example for the OpenSSL, and basically it is pre-installed in Kali Linux. So here inside the terminal we have to enter the OpenSSL ENC for the encryption. There are several standards. Among these we are using the AES 256 CBC standard for the base 64, and in parameter is nothing but our input MSG, and dash out parameter is used for the encryption. So by entering this command, it will ask for the encryption password. So we have to provide some password. Also it verifies, so re-enter the password. Then after we can cat the command, cat command for the displaying the ENC file, that is output file of the OpenSSL, and through that you can see the encrypted text will be here. Now how to decrypt it? So again we have to use the OpenSSL ENC and same standard that we have to use in encryption. -D for the decryption, base 64 in, that is now in parameter is ENC and out parameter is DEC, that is decrypt. So we have to enter the password for the decryption. Whatever password given through the encrypted, at that time we have to provide this one also. Then after cat DEC, so you will get the output of this particular encrypted file is now decrypted. So there is a message, hi, this is demo of OpenSSL. Likewise, the OpenSSL has been used. External is another program which used for the encryption between client and remote server. It runs on cross-platform OS as well. It also encrypt any type of network communication. So, for instance, you could encrypt unencrypted message with external. So, if you want to bypass a firewall or intrusion prevention system, so you wanted to hide essentially your malware or bad program information by encrypting it. So, it can be hide or bypass the firewall also. Basically, external is used for it. So, using it, you can bypass any types of detection scheme on that network, would not be able to see what you are doing cause of sending encrypted traffic across the network. So, what is tunneling? It is basically a daemon program run on the client as well as server machine. So, you can see the example here for tunneling. So, -D indicate external program execute in daemon mode on port 5800. -R indicate that remote host machine, and -C indicate that client mode. So, in screen you can see the example. Windows is sending and Unix is remote machine. Thank you very much.